Hello, Keeping It Real listeners. I am Kim Rittberg, and if you've listened to the show before, I guest host about once a month, and I generally teach agents how to make better video and how to show up confidently on camera. And, if you've listened to any of my past episodes, or I'll just tell you why, but if you learn how to convert your content into cash, that is the key to growing as an agent in the modern era where social media is so important. So I recommend you listen to some past episodes if you're really interested in diving deep into video. But today, I'm really excited to bring in a special guest. So Sabina Hitchen is here. She is known as the PR Fairy Godmother. Why are we talking about PR? People are probably like, Kim is a video person. Why is she talking here? So real estate agents, of course, are showing up on social media more and more. But if you want to get featured in the press, Sabina Hitchen is the person you need to know. So I'm bringing her in here, and she's going to give you really amazing advice on how real estate agents can get featured in the press. A little bit about Sabina. She is an educator, an entrepreneur, a speaker, and a small business media strategist. She's dedicated over 17 years to spotlighting small business owners and entrepreneurs. She's the founder and CEO of Press for Success. It's a membership community that helps people get themselves publicity. Entrepreneur Magazine even highlighted its abilities to turn small business owners into confident PR pros. Sabina used to be a high school teacher and curriculum designer, and then she was in New York City doing PR for over a decade. And she's been featured in various media outlets, including Good Morning America, Forbes, NBC News, ABC News, Entrepreneur, USA Today, the New York Post, and more. And make sure to follow her at Sabina, SabinaKnows, Sabina Knows, across all platforms. And she lives in Portland, Maine, with her husband, daughter, and dog, George Michael. Sabina, thank you for joining us.
I'm so excited to talk about this because I always get hyped about what you're doing for the real estate community.
Awesome. And so one thing I want to share is before, adjacent to me being in video, I was actually a TV journalist. So I was doing video and journalism. So Sabina, as a publicist, is someone I would work closely with and respect so much the value of publicity for what it can do for people. So Sabina, talk to me first. Why would a real estate agent want to invest their time or their effort or money or whatever into getting press?
Great question. And just for all of you listening who might be like, what does that even look like? When Kim and I say this, we're talking like you sharing your tips on TV or in a website, a .com, the newspaper, etc., for free because it's press, right? So things I like about publicity when you're a real estate agent specifically are, number one, visibility boosting. All of a sudden I'm seeing you, and let's be real, keep it real. Like, we're in a crowded market, so we want to stand out. So number one, all of a sudden, if I'm sharing my expert advice on a local morning show, or sharing advice on like for first time home sellers on like Cosmo or Glamour, all of a sudden I'm being seen. And also, depending on the type of press you put out there, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, it helps you differentiate yourself. Like, why am I choosing you? And a lot of that can be a very personal decision. And so press helps me choose you. All of a sudden I'm seeing you on television, or I'm reading your story or advice on a local website. I'm like, oh, I like this person. Like, I want this Christine selling my house. So there's a lot of to do with like the visibility, the differentiation, and also the authority. I'm trusting you more because people are choosing to talk to you. So I see you as a resource. Quick example, I live in Portland, Maine, where like real estate is wild right now, right? And I have seen real estate agents here appearing in national news talking about real estate trends and things like that. And now I'm following them on Instagram, and like, with video and social, then the funnel begins. Right now I'm big fans of theirs.
And I love this. So just for people listening, to clarify, so we're talking about press as being the sort of thing that's giving you credibility. That is also, when you really think about it, it's like an outside badge of honor. So it is not replacing all your efforts in social media or on video. You still need that because you can directly connect with buyers, directly connect with sellers, and you can also be providing your own expertise. But when you're landing in press, it gives you that extra badge of honor, as seen in, local TV, as written up on, whatever, I'm just trying to think, like The Real Deal, whatever. So you're getting someone else saying, oh, Christina's legit. Like, oh, she is legit. And so I think that it's just important to pause right there. It doesn't replace it. So the PR and press is like next to what you're doing for yourself on your social media, on your video, on your blog, on your newsletter. So, okay, and we're going to move on now, but I wanted to pause because I talk a lot about social media and video, but the value of press is really important.
And can I just say one quickie thing? Like, Kim is so right. And what I love to picture at Press for Success, we say like, picture a wheel, and it's like content, community, publicity spinning around together. And they all are like a three-legged stool. They all need to show up because I want to see you in all those places. Just like you're working so hard to become part of your communities in different ways and spending that money, that content you need, the video content, the social, and the publicity, all of it together makes you the real estate agent that stands out, or agency.
Love that. So now I want to get right into the nitty gritty. Sabina,
Yeah.
let's say you have an agent and this person, we're going to call her Lauren. Lauren wants to get press. What are the first things she should do? And I know that we're going to jump into the 3 types of things that she should be pitching. What's the first thing Lauren should do if she says, I want to go and try to get press for my agency, for myself?
And you're right, because it's not like just like, Lauren, run towards the media. I like to take a step back and be like, what is everything I need to show up like the real estate expert I need to be so they choose me? So things, and if you know Kim, you're probably in the lucky boat already, because it's things like, number one, do I have some place that showcases who I am? Some kind of website or a landing page, or even Instagram these days that showcases like me. I look trustworthy. I look like I can speak on camera. Like you want that video on that page. So I'm like, ooh, Lauren feels like the right kind of person for our program or even our .com. Like she feels legit, right? If you're aiming towards TV prior to even pitching, you want to make sure you have like a photo, B-roll of yourself doing different things, like, you know, something that symbolizes, video that symbolizes your real estate life, like stacking all that stuff up in advance so that when you're ready to show up, like the story idea is almost the least important part. It's like, are all your ducks in a row? And the last thing I want to say is, if you want this to be something you want to do, and I think you should, it's so powerful, you need to start getting in that ecosystem. And this is like a talent of real estate people. So like, I'm going to start following the people who do real estate stories, and not just like New York Times, Wall Street Journal, but like people are talking about home buying and selling everywhere from AARP to Oprah Daily. So I'm starting to like look at where real estate conversations show up, or similar conversations about like money and wealth and resources that your demographic cares about. So you could be like, I need to start getting to know these spaces because I belong in them. And I feel just real estate people understand that because they understand relationships. So if I'm like, this is it. Yeah, Kim, I want to do this. You really want to go beyond just like getting yourself ready. Start watching the places real estate conversations show up, looking at the press, how they're talking about it, so you can start seeing yourself in those places.
And a couple of things Sabina said. So for those of you who don't know what B-roll is, no problem. Just follow me on Instagram and I'll tell you, drop me a line.
Yeah.
But B-roll.
I literally interviewed you about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that Sabina was mentioning is basically if you want to be interviewed on TV, they're going to want to see, they're going to say, Lauren is a real estate agent in Portland, Maine. They're just going to want to see some footage of you looking at floor plans, of you at your computer. It's like, it's not that complicated, but it is something that, you know, you don't have until you're pursuing press or until you're active with your social media. So that's just something that she was mentioning. And then Sabina, I do think you mentioned a couple of outlets, but talk to me about starting locally. Like those are really where people have the relationship. So talk to me about how an agent, Lauren, can be starting to build her relationships with her local press to start to get featured locally first.
Exactly. And we'll talk about the specific stories in a sec, but I want you to start saying, okay, I want to serve. And I want you to like erase any thought of your head of like, oh, I'm being a pest, or I'm like being so salesy. Like, you are serving up real estate information to people who need it. Real estate is a wild, hot topic. It has been for years now. So the people in your hometown are curious. What do I need to know? You're not trying to sell your agency yourself. You're being like a resource. So what you want to start doing is looking again, like, where are they talking about real estate related stories in my local hometown newspaper or regional newspaper? Where are they talking about it on local TV? And again, it doesn't have to be on the nose, but you're like, okay, this is something where they've said like, oh, like in Portland, Maine, real estate's always a hot topic. So you see it appearing on certain news shows. You start saying, okay, these are the places I belong. Every one of you has a local CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox. You don't even have to watch it in real time. Start streaming and getting to know those places and getting to know the reporters who are there. Like, that's the basic research you start doing, because that's where we're eventually going to take the key stories that we're going to talk to you about in a second. But you don't need to, you can't be like, I want to be on TV in Nashville and not know any TV shows that are in Nashville. You want to be like, oh, I know Talk of the Town is in Nashville. I know Wake Up Nashville. Like, you want to know those things because you're going to be serving yourself up to those places as an amazing resource.
And a reminder to anyone who's still, a little camera shy, you don't have to be aiming for local TV. It could be local
Yes,
print
yes.
or digital. So, we all have our local paper. So I live in Brooklyn, New York,
Hmm.
the Brooklyn Eagle, Brooklyn
Hmm.
paper. And then you might say, what about the New York Daily News? What about the New York Post? So it's not just like
Yes.
your local TV. There's really, when you think about it, like look at your table, look at your kitchen table. What are the magazines
Yeah.
and newspapers landing on
Yeah.
your doorstep? Or what are the
Yeah.
Instagram handles you follow locally? And then you're kind of going to build that list of, okay, here's 3 places, 6 places, 10 places that I actually read, that people I know
Yeah.
read.
Yeah.
And Sabina mentioned something earlier I think is really important that we'll talk about next is when you're pitching yourself is like when you read a story and there's an expert quoted, you could be
Hmm.
that person quoted. So it doesn't
Yes.
have to be like, I live in New York, so it's not going to necessarily be like Lauren, like a feature on Lauren, this real estate agent in New York. Unless you're doing something super interesting and amazing, it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
get a feature, but it might be like, wow, like, this 7 new developments went up in Queens. Here's Lauren, an agent
Hmm.
in Queens, to comment on that trend. So again,
Exactly.
we're really talking about you getting featured in the press, but maybe don't think about who's going to feature me. Like it is hard to get a story where you're on the front page, but it's a different, like a lighter lift to get quoted, to get,
Exactly. And you're
mentioned.
still getting those logos and those relationships. And also, if you're one of those people who's like, not me on TV, baby, not yet, just like we're talking about those newspapers and .coms, that is a place where, also like if you can do it locally, like if you can draw a small circle, you can draw a big circle. So if you're okay to like pitch your local newspaper and you have a great trend to report on, and like you're like, don't try to buy your first house in this economy until you do this, you can also be pitching that to Cosmo.com, Glamour.com, like where are the people reading who are buying first homes, and you're pursuing them that way. So again, that's an easier. It's not TV. It becomes very similar to finding homes locally, or homes for
Awesome.
your story. Sorry.
Awesome. And now, Sabina, let's jump into, I know you have 3 types
Yeah.
of stories that real estate agents should be pitching to get themselves press. Let's talk about those.
Yeah, and you already started with me, so we'll go to that. So my two favorites for real estate agents that book consistently are, again, when you show up as a service provider, in the sense like, I'm going to give you everything you need to know about the real estate space. So that is going to land in the form of expert tips, right? Seasonal, evergreen, but expert advice. Again, like, don't buy your first home until you this, or how to stage your home, or if there's so like anything related to expert advice from your industry that people will find so useful. If you can make it seasonal, even better. So you're providing advice. The second part is piggybacking on hot topics in the news. And that's a power play for real estate people, because every day there is something about the real estate market that you can take and say, hey, they just announced this, or this is happening with interest rates. Let me translate that for the people of Kalamazoo, Michigan. Let me translate that. We're like, what does that mean for local Chicagoans? Or so, like you're saying, new development coming up. What does that mean for the real estate prices in your demographic? Or what does that mean? Should I buy or should I sell? Or so again, if you can start saying, okay, what expert advice do I have to give that's seasonal or juicy? Or what is happening in the world of real estate or real estate adjacent that would impact my future or current customers? And I'm going to become a resource of that information, beginning locally, because it's easy, like bumpers on a bowling lane. Like I can start here, but then I encourage you to start saying to yourself, okay, if I'm okay talking to my local dem customers, like local newspaper, about like, in this economy, don't think about selling your house until you do this, or don't think about buying a house until you do this. Well, why couldn't I say that same thing to Oprah.com, where people are talking about this, or ABCnews.com, or CNN.com? So just remembering, you can do that same thing many places, but the expert tips and the piggybacking are where we kick off. And if I can just add one little thing to the fire before we go on to another idea, but expert tips, if you want to get a little bit deeper, can also expand. Like if I'm a real estate agent like Lauren, and I want people to choose me, yes, I want them to see me as an expert. Yes, I want them to see me as an authority piggybacking on things, but I want them to choose me in a way that I feel like they know me. So sometimes for that, when I'm working with a real estate agent, I will slide in anecdotal wisdom, like, how I went from high school teacher to real estate agent and like why that pivot changed my life, or how I'm working and being a mom with summer camp, like something that is just allowing me to make my real estate career the background of a story where I'm giving advice to other working moms or people pursuing a pivot or something like that. So then I'm able to share another side of myself. So of course, I lean into the expert real estate tips first or the piggybacking. But I believe once you start that machine going, you should consider, are there other parts of my life that I'm very good at that are adjacent to real estate? Maybe it's like how you stay productive during the summer months as a working parent, or God help me, like all those things. So those types of expert advices, anecdotal wisdom you have as a person working and living in whatever existence you are, is another layer just to put in your back pocket. Because when you're a real estate agent, you want someone to choose you. And sometimes that comes from knowing you a little bit more than just your advice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, my tips would be like, how to stay productive during the summer. Don't try. Just kidding. Sit outside and enjoy the weather while you're on your Zoom meetings. But and
I
one
mean,
thing
look
that
at, but then they like think you're funny.
right, exactly. So one thing I was just thinking about, so I have a client, Kathleen, who's an agent in Texas, and she had a social media post, a video about what does Trump's big, beautiful bill mean for you as a buyer or a seller?
Yes.
And it performed really well. So one thing you could be thinking about as you're thinking about your expert tips, what are the sort of ideas you're making for content that's like reactive to
Yes.
the news or seasons? And then you can also say, what do people ask me a lot about? Like, when there's a new bill or when there's a new season
Hmm.
or if the interest rate changes, you're going to get a lot of the same questions. So Sabina's
Yes.
recommending use that. Those are sort of things that are in the air.
Yes.
That's the kind of idea you should pitch. Okay, so we have
And
expert
if
tips
you
is
see
number
it
one.
perform well on Instagram, I was just going to say, if it performs well on social, it's likely to perform well
Yep,
statistically and historically in the press. Like it's people. So you're like, whoa, this tells me people are interested. The press are people too.
totally. Okay, great. Sabina, what is the second type of story agents should be pitching?
Okay, so expert tips are jumbled. The second was piggybacking. So those are like two separate. The third thing I want you to do, and again, we can break those down a little bit more, but again, like expert tips, number one. So I'm thinking industry based and I'm thinking anecdotal when I feel it, when I have something that feels purposeful. The second type of story you want to be monitoring for is the piggybacking. Again, like piggybacking on hot topics, surveys, studies. And if you are serious about press and you're listening to Kim and me right now, I want you to actually say to yourself, instead of being like, oh, this is so interesting, be like, okay, first challenge is like, what set of expert tips could I put on my calendar for this month whenever you are receiving and thinking about this? Like what, or maybe looking ahead, what is one set of expert tips I could put on my calendar for next month that would be seasonal and timely and juicy? Because you need to knock over that first domino, right? And start the train of stories going. And I would be showing up like once a month with a new set of expert tips. And
On
then
so
the
on
final,
on
uh-huh.
social media, and then also be pitching that to the
Yeah,
press?
you can
Mhm.
totally. And then also, because I know that if you're a regular here, you hear from Kim, like, and you follow Kim on social, which you should, like, you know that you're so passionate about video. Because then if I'm a producer or a report, even a newspaper reporter, and I'm like, ooh, okay, let me go check out Lauren on Instagram to make sure she feels legit and not like an AI robot. Then I'm like, whoa, she actually was just on her soapbox about the big, beautiful bill and what it means to our home buying. And now I like see her energy and I'm like, yes, this is so interesting. So again, you're multi-purposing that content. If you're somebody who does a newsletter, you can even send that off to your customer newsletter, right? Your YouTube. There's so many ways to do it. So again, we're doing an expert set of tips. We're piggybacking. And the last one that I love to lean into, because I see real estate agents as entrepreneurs of their own kind, right? They're doing the work, they're marketing, they're putting themselves out there, they're leading themselves very often. So I like to find some way to weave in our founder story, right? Like, again, meet the local mom who built a real estate empire from the shores of Portland, Maine, or meet the local real estate group that has donated like, X $10,000 to charity in the past month, or this, like, meet the two sisters who are like working in real estate together, find out their advice on how to work with your sibling and still love each other at the end of the day. So you're thinking like, what is my story? I met someone, I think through you, Kim, Debbie, was that it?
Yeah,
And she
Debbie
was so
DiMaggio.
fascinating. Yes. I was like, you're a star. Like, she's so interesting. And I'm like, I want to hear every part of your story. I love how you work with your family. I love how you and your husband like tag teaming things. Like, this is fascinating to me. And so your local press, if it's not set up as a commercial for you, but like a story, and again, real estate is just like the canvas at which you're telling your story of a pivot, of a transformation, of a choice to work with someone like a partner or a spouse or a kid. Like, all of that is just storytelling at the end of the day. So if you can start saying, like, where is the story behind what I do? What is the why behind what I do? Were you someone who was like selling lemonade as a kid and now you're selling homes? Were you like straight out of college, totally pivoted out of a science career and accidentally became a real estate agent? Like, tell us those stories, provide a little takeaway for the reader or the viewer, that, and then look around locally first and then beyond and say, where are people talking about pivots or stories or sharing stories of local people? And then how can I walk myself into that instead of feeling like a commercial about myself, feeling like a story that local people are like, I never knew that Carol has a puppetry thing. She, like, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Carol loves puppetry and being a real
Lauren
estate
has a
agent.
background in puppetry, and that's how she sells houses. Like whatever it is. And just one last thing about that, because I remember the olden days when Kim, we used to clubhouse and we'd tell people about stories. And I want to remind everyone out there, like, we think our stories had to be so like wild and crazy. And like, the reason I'm a real estate agent is because I like ran into a house and saved a family. And I was like, this is my moment. Like, it doesn't have to always be like that. It can be that natural moment, like, of the thing that we all want to connect to. We want, like, the people want to have the realness and the personal connection and the relatability. And that can just be an everyday story that you dive into and find the juicy parts, share it, and give us some takeaways that we can take with us.
And I want to say, as kind of a video coach and a former journalist, it took me a long time. And I do want to flag for agents out there who are feeling like, am I really worthy of getting press, or I'm not big enough to get press, or I'm not experienced enough to get press? I do want to say, number one, everyone has something valuable to say. If you're showing up on social media and sharing your tips and you've helped people buy and sell homes for X number of years, your information has value. I also want to say that, similar to when people make content for social media, I see from clients and for myself, there's a natural lean in. So some of us feel more comfortable with the expert tips, and some of us feel more comfortable with the personal storytelling. And so don't be afraid to just like lean into the side that you feel more comfortable with. So I will say, like, for me, I can teach video like all day long, and it has taken me a few more years to like kind of feel comfortable being like, I'm going to pitch a story about me being a working mom, or me quitting my job and building my business. And so just, that's okay to say, I feel super comfortable pitching the buying tips or prepping your home for the fall open house market. I feel super comfortable, commenting on the bill, the big, beautiful bill, and how that might impact your sales, impact your home selling or buying. It's okay if you feel really comfortable with either expert tips or piggybacking off of news stories. Down the road, you can sort of say, is there some softer story? And likewise, the other way, I would say some people feel really comfortable saying, I left a really incredible career in, as a gym teacher, and now I'm an agent, and the things that I find that are similar, or whatever, right? Whatever your personal story is, some people feel very comfortable with that. Lean into that. So kind of like, I guess my major advice is, everyone can get press. Don't feel like you're not famous enough, you're not big enough, you haven't sold enough homes. And then the second thing is, don't feel that there's only one way to do it. Do the way that feels right for you. And like
the entryway.
And to Sabina's point, like, I want you to, today, you're going to listen to this, I want you to write down one thing that you think would help people. If you think it would help people, it would help people via the press. So whether that's an expert tip or a current seasonal story, I just think sort of start with what like, this is a way to move forward.
And can I tell you, just to inspire them, as we were literally talking, I Googled Real Simple magazine and real estate, because that's an easy way to be like, what are people talking? And literally a month ago, one of the headlines on their website was 5 expensive mistakes first-time home sellers always make, according to the real estate pros. And of course, people were weighing in. So people want you, they are ready for you. And yes, find the way that feels like a nice gateway into, like so many here are here to serve. What is a way that you could show up, and what could you share? I love that idea, Kim.
And I think I mentioned this at the beginning, but I spent, 10 years in TV, and I have been pitched so many stories. I love Sabina's tips. I think they are so spot on, and they're really like step by step. So as we wrap up, Sabina, let people know where they can find you, how they can work with you.
Yes. First of all, yes, come find me. Like Kim, I love to share stories and give advice and everything on social media. So come find me at Sabina Knows, Knows, on social, but also at pressforsuccess.com, where we have workshops every week and all kinds of juicy templates and tips and advice and press requests to keep you going and to support you. But I look forward to hearing from you all. And I'm just excited you're showing up, trying to be visible and doing all the work for your businesses.
And I'm Kim Rittberg. I guest host a Keeping It Real episode every month. I love to coach real estate agents on how to show up on camera and make videos that grow their business. I was a recent keynote at Inman Connect. I'll be speaking at the NAR NXT conference in Houston in November. I'm really excited about that. And so make sure to listen, follow me, Kim Rittberg, KimRittberg on Instagram. I'm on YouTube as well. And let us know what you're doing with this information.
Yes.
Tell us, send us your story idea. We would love to hear from you. And have a great day, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.